news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith, making top story today. 7 years on, Guyana is still to protect itself from being cheated on oil revenues. Former Finance Minister Jordan acknowledges flaws in Exxon contract. University of the West Indies lecturer says Trinidad is a treasure trove of lessons for Guyana on how to navigate oil sector pitfalls. U.S. urges Guyana to go after assets of money launderers, launches two-day workshop on asset recovery. And alleged arsonist wanted for murder of woman in Mahdia. Man wounded during gunplay in Kitty. Police in moves to erase Felix Austin from college's name. And Article 13 says Guyana be warned as thousands of Surinamis and Sri Lankans protest corrupt governments. Stay tuned to stay informed. And now for the news in detail. Former Finance Minister Winston Jordan has acknowledged that in hindsight, there are certain provisions in the Stabroek Block production sharing agreement which could have been better negotiated. Be that as it may, he is of the view that 7 years after the discovery of oil, Guyana is yet to be fully armed with the institutional and legal instruments needed to ensure it is not being cheated on its oil revenues. The former finance minister's comments are also in sync with the findings outlined in a key report by the World Bank, which outlined that the shortage of oil sector experts in relevant government entities, combined with inadequate human and capital resources, limits the country's ability to monitor, audit, and enforce regulations in oil companies. While it is commendable that Guyana is committed to reducing its carbon footprint via a suite of renewable energy projects, complemented by the imminent gas-to-shore power plant, and it has even created a natural resource fund into which regular deposits are made, that alone will not be its saving grace against the Dutch disease. It will require Guyana to demonstrate great vision, discipline, and clear communication via government. So said Dr. Graham King, lecturer in the Faculty of Engineering at the University of the West Indies. In his effort to explain the tightrope Guyana must walk, Dr. King referenced his homeland, Trinidad and Tobago, as a case study. He noted that the founding CARICOM member did a few things well with her oil and gas resources, much like what Guyana is doing at the moment. But still, Trinidad and Tobago got caught in the tentacles of the Dutch disease, a phenomenon that sees the rapid development of one sector and the decline of others. And when it comes to tackling transitional financial crimes and assets derived from criminal activities, Guyana is in grave need of capacity building. That need was underscored at the opening ceremony of a two-day civil asset recovery workshop held at the Guyana Marriott Hotel in Kingston. The workshop is an initiative under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative Anti-Crime Program, which Guyana has been a signatory since 2010. The workshop came also as a result of a partnership with the United States Department of State, Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, and the National Center for State Courts. The PPPC government back in 2020 abandoned the State Assets Recovery Agency, saying that the body was not fulfilling its purpose. However, almost 2 years later, the administration has not taken any steps to put in place a replacement agency. Observers believe this U.S.-based workshop is aimed at pushing the government back into the direction of having a state asset recovery body. And moving on, Guyana's Dutch-speaking neighbors in Suriname on Monday attempted to storm President Chandrika Prasad Santoki's office in protest against the high cost of living, slashing of government subsidies on water and electricity, and the suspicious transfer of funds from the central bank to a private account. In addition, it was explained that the government had promised a salary increase to cushion the inflation rates. However, they were reportedly told that this cannot be done as the budget could not handle an increase for public sector workers. Meanwhile, citizens of Sri Lanka also moved into 100 days of consecutive protest action, demanding changes in the government also owing to the mismanagement of the country's resources. In light of the prevailing crisis those countries have been faced with, civil society body Article 13 has cautioned the incumbent administration here to be alert and ensure corrective measures are taken so as to prevent Guyana from trotting down a similar lane. It was Dr. Yog Mahadio, one of the founding members of the body, in an invited comment that shared his perspective yesterday. And now let's tell you, an alleged arsonist is now wanted for questioning in relation to the murder of Nariman Latifan, a 55-year-old Essequibo woman who was on July 6th found brutally murdered in Mahdia. Police issued a wanted bulletin for the alleged arsonist on Tuesday and identified as 48-year-old Dexter James, also known as Lemuel Alfonso. His last known addresses were given as Campbelltown Village, Mahdia. If anyone knows where Alfonso might be, they are asked to make contact with police. James or Alfonso is labeled as a notorious character in the mining town. He is accused of wounding someone and even setting a house on fire at Mahdia. And moving on, a shootout on Monday between two men in front of the Mantra restaurant and lounge has landed one of them in the hospital. That should be in the police lockups, and the other hospitalized with a gunshot wound to his armpit. Nursing the gunshot wound at the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital is 26-year-old Dion Jarrick. According to police, the alleged shootout took place around 1:30 on Lamaha Street, Kitty. The incident was described by eyewitnesses as a Wild West movie scene and reportedly began with an argument between the two men. In other news, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Slow has raised concerns over the Guyana Police Force's decision to change the name of the Felix Austin Police College to the Guyana Police Force Academy. GPF notified the public that it has taken a decision to change the name of the Felix Austin Police College to the Guyana Police Force Academy. However, Slow believes that the move is one that will erase the history behind GPF and its training college. The time is now 12:09. We'll take a short break and return with your news.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back to your news at noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's tell you that the Environmental Protection Agency is inviting members of the public to share their concerns on the new 35-well exploration campaign to be pursued by ESSO. EPA, in a public notice uploaded to its website yesterday, said that the public has 28 days to make written submissions to the agency, setting out those questions and matters which they require to be answered or considered in the environmental impact assessment of the cumulative effects of the proposed project or activities in the Stabroek Block. The Caribbean Public Health Agency said it is monitoring the spread of monkeypox in the region but is not recommending restrictions on entry of persons from any country. Thus far, the Bahamas, Barbados, and Jamaica have recorded cases of monkeypox. In a press release, CARPA said the member states should continue to remain on high alert for the importation of viral or other infections and monitor in-country syndromic surveillance systems for increases in fever and rash illnesses. The Ministry of Health last week reported that it will continue monitoring and be on high alert for possible cases of monkeypox, as the virus has been detected in more than 40 countries already. And now let's tell you the work of the Public Accounts Committee has faced cancellation for 2 consecutive weeks, owing to the absence of members of Parliament from the government. It was revealed on Monday that by Chairperson of the PSC, German Figuera, as he explained that the meeting was stalled after all the members of the government members of the PSC were absent from the meeting. Figueroa explained that the absence has resulted in a lack of quorum. He said that the government had amended the PSC quorum to provide for 5 members. 2 members represent government, 2 members the opposition, and as well as the chairman. And in other news, from approximately 620 COVID-19 tests conducted, the Ministry of Health on Tuesday reported that it recorded 86 new cases across the country within the last 24 hours. The new infections now bring the total number of confirmed cases to 69,058. 4 patients are admitted into the COVID-19 ICU, 26 persons are in institutional isolation, 886 are in home isolation, and 1 in institutional quarantine. And of course, we turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7, dedicated to being blunt, to wrap up today's main newscast. Guyanese continue to fool themselves into believing that we will get a lot of money from our oil wealth. This is far from the truth, as we have pointed out in numerous articles. What we're getting is mere pittance thanks to the wretched oil contract the coalition government signed with ExxonMobil and the refusal of the Air-Finale administration to make it right. And while the leaders of this country masturbate with our resources, the impoverished are drained by the lack of basics and grow wrathful watching the favored few latching on to the richness of their oil, while they are being told that oil prosperity is a work in progress and that don't expect much. Many Guyanese wonder whether to expect anything at all, given how things have been going, where even the trickle-down spoken of by economists has not wended its pitiful way to the doorstep. They find it increasingly difficult to live in a society where the rate of the increase on cost of living is expected to double. So the question is asked, where have all the wealth gone? Who is really benefiting? And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar